Very much, Chairman Collins and Ranking Member Reed. And let me, before I start, I just want to thank both of you for your really hard work on the fiscal year 2018 spending bill. It was a bipartisan compromise, and really appreciated you rejecting the harmful policies and making significant new investments. It made a difference to my state, and we appreciate the work that you did. Madam Secretary, I want to follow up on Senator Reed's questions on the SIG program, because that is critical to all of our states. And I was really pleased with Monday's announcement on the $43 million grant to community transit for Swift Bus Rapid. But that was good news. But it was, as we talked about, long overdue. And we also talked about the Linwood Link extension and the Tacoma Link extension. Here's the thing: these transit agencies have worked in good faith for years with DOT. Congress provided the federal funding, and yet projects like these and across the nation, as you heard, have been stalled at DOJ. You told this subcommittee last year you would follow congressional direction and execute these SIG grant agreements that have received federal funding. And I have to say, a lot of us are still frustrated. And I heard you just answer Senator Reed that you will follow the law and advance these SIG projects through the grant agreements as directed by Congress, correct?
Yes.
Specifically, on the Linwood Link extension, will you commit to moving forward with their full funding grant agreement?
What is the question?
It's the Linwood Link extension that we talked about. It's
I
ready.
probably
It's
should be
waiting.
more familiar with that. I am not.
Okay, could you give me an answer on that and a timeline?
I can't promise anything, and it's on a case-by-case basis. So if it's ready,
It is
and
ready.
it is, there's funding available, then we will certainly take we will take a look.
Okay, if you could get back to me on a timeline on that. And similarly, on the grant agreement for the Tacoma Link extension, can you give me a timeline for that one?
Of course.
So you'll follow up with me. Okay, I appreciate that. Last year, I shared with you a story from a constituent of mine who bravely told me about being sexually assaulted on a long-distance flight. And in the past year, I've heard more and more disturbing reports of sexual assault and sexual harassment that occurs on airplanes. And the Association of Flight Attendants conducted a survey of nearly 2,000 flight attendants and found that 1 out of 5 flight attendants have experienced a report of passengers on sexual assault while they were working on the flight. And the more I've looked into this, the clearer it has become that there's really a serious lack of guidance on adequate responses to in-flight sexual assault and growing support for addressing this problem. So I introduced legislation, the SAFE Act, with Senator Casey, and I worked with this subcommittee, and I thank them for this, to include language in the fiscal year 2018 spending bill to take a step forward. And specifically, we directed DOT and FAA to establish federal rules and guidelines to make sure that our flight crews can properly respond and address sexual assault and harassment when it happens on the airplane, including training and and data collection. This has to be done within a year, deadline of March 23rd, 2018. Are you aware of this, and are you working on it?
I'm aware of it because you are aware of it. And so you have brought this up on a number of occasions. First of all, let me say, I think that is horrible, these incidences. And so we need to be very vigilant, and we need to do something about that. And so we've just gotten the instruction from the omnibus, and that was just last week. So, of course, we will proceed.
Okay, and the deadline's March 23rd, a year from now, so I want you to work on meeting that deadline. And the first step in that is creating the National In-Flight Sexual Assault Task Force. I know you just got it, but are you starting to work on how to put that together and how to establish it?
We will, as I mentioned, we just got the $12 billion plus all of the omnibus requests and requirements, and we're in the process of going through them and going forward.
Okay, I'll be following that very closely, so
of course.
Look forward to hearing from you on that. And finally, in the last few seconds, I know that the chairman talked about the Tiger program. This is an incredibly successful program. For every federal dollar invested, Tiger generates $3.6 of additional investment from private, state, and local resources. I am concerned about the execution of this. Congress does provide the guidelines for the Tiger program. It's in law, and I want to make sure that you follow the congressional intent on this. It's very clear, the rules are very clear, and we want to make sure that this is given equitably across the country as it's established in the guidelines.
Of course, it is my intent to carry out the wishes of Congress. Let me also point out, though, even with the best of intent, there are very, very tight timelines. But of course, we will try to meet those deadlines. I might also bring up another point, and that is a lot of these Tiger grants are actually taken out, they're implemented by the policy office. And in the past, the policy office is not an operating unit. So with the FAST Act and all the money that's going through the policy office, I might just ask members of, of this committee to take a look at, is that the right place for
Well,
dispersing
one of the
all
reasons it
this?
was done that way was to make sure there was equitable distribution of funds and appropriate balance in the country to meet rural and urban needs, and in an investment in a variety of transportation modes, which we felt was really important parameters to put into it. So, I'm happy to talk to the chairwoman, but I think it's really important that we keep the guidelines.
Well, perhaps we can talk about that too.
Thank you.